I appreciate you jumping on board with me.
Yeah, of course.
And so here's what I think that there's a lot of people in the public school K-12 space that can learn from you. All right, James.
Okay.
And one of the things that I've been focused on for years is this whole growing school choice, growing options for students, right? And so Orlando public school or schools, Orange County, right, in Florida, brought
Mhm.
you on, but you have this kind of really cool experience.
Yeah, I've had 22 years of experience prior to this in higher education. And it was kind of a mix of different schools. There's some technical colleges, a lot of state colleges, things like that. So I've worked all across higher ed from certificates and associates to bachelor's, master's, and PhD programs and all of
Okay,
that.
so look, like obviously you're on here, man. You got the pedigree, right? Let's get real, right? Like let's kind of get into the thing. So how long have you been at Orange County now?
Orange County, I started in September of last year of 2024. So that's it's about coming up on 6 months.
Yeah, right. Okay, so tell me first off, if you can walk me through how you would recruit a student for higher ed. Like if you have an example or a hypothetical, like, and then we'll kind of get into like what you're seeing the differences are, right? In K-12. But like walk us through how a student would be recruited for college.
So, college marketing is interesting because you're focused on way different things. A higher ed student, they care about cost, number one, they care about location, and they care about time commitment. So, off the bat, it is just a different style of marketing. K through 12 kids, they have to go to school, right? It's the law. And so there's not that same sense of uh, that sort of aspirational thing where you're trying to encourage people to do more and more and more. On the recruitment end, higher ed is all about lead generation. It's a high numbers game. You're doing volumes and volumes and volumes, and you're getting that through uh, landing pages, email blasts, banner ads, things like that. You're trying to get a large crop of names, and then through sort of one-on-one talks with recruitment specialists, you're trying to turn them into leads and all that. And so you have that funnel, and you start out top of funnel, and it gets tighter and tighter and tighter as you go down to the bottom because you're sort of weeding out people based on how passionate they really are about the program, how much it costs, and the time commitment. Can they fit it into their busy schedule and all of that? So
So
really, it's volume is what higher ed is all about.
it's funny because what you're saying is the way that we now they're different. K-12 kids want different things, right? Like their goals and
Right.
objectives are different. Like so the money thing, the time, the class schedule, all those things. It's a different request, but we run our campaigns to recruit students in a kind of a similar way with some exceptions. So let me tell you a little bit of a story, and I got some questions for you. All right, on
Sure.
this higher ed thing. So my daughter, we went on college tours.
Mhm.
Like that was our jam, right? And I think some of the ways, James, she was just trying to get a free trip out of me, like a free trip on old daddy. Like
Yeah.
so we went to University of Washington and University of Oregon, and in between we were traveling. She had me gave me directions, take a right here, take a left here, take a right here. And we stopped in this little town, and then she goes, "We got to go check this house out." And it was the house from the movie Twilight.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Is that the entire reason why we're on this trip? Is so you could see this Twilight house?" Like, are you going to go to the University of Washington? She's like, "No, I wanted to see this house." So yes. So after that, we were very familiar with college tours.
Mhm.
Why are some college tours treated like garbage? And do you think they're
Um,
important? And do you think they're important too?
I think they're vital. The colleges that I've seen the most response from, turning a lead into a student, which is the trick, and it's very hard to do because of the cost involved. You're asking someone to put, I mean, these are 50, 80, $100,000 degrees in the end, and making that sort of commitment takes a lot. Like, I waffle between, what kind of toaster I'm going to buy, and a $20 difference between toasters. So all of that. But going back to the school tours, uh, college is very much about community. You think about your own college days, and you probably, I would imagine, you still love your college. You love those teams. You love those sports. People want to feel connected to these places, and even online students, which I dealt with a lot. They want to feel a sense of place. They want to feel like they're part of something, part of a culture. They like the name recognition, especially in higher ed. You want that name on your resume, and you want to be able to tell your friends and family, I'm going here. I'm going to Columbia Law. I'm going to, pick the place. So
So
having, yeah,
yeah, sorry, man. It's you talk about like building a sense of community, and I kind of want to stay on the tours just for a minute, and
okay.
I kind of got a little bit of a method to my madness, brother. I appreciate it. Is so we would go and have such a diverse experience
Hmm.
with college tours. So my college, the best college, Appalachian State, we beat Michigan,
Yep.
greatest football upset in the history of college sports. It's the only thing we can. It's our biggest coup de grace, right? And the most important thing about App State was they accepted me. That was a big deal for me,
Right.
right? So I got in, and I was really excited to have my daughter like tour it. It's beautiful. It's Boone, North Carolina. It's
Mhm.
mountain biking and kayaking and outdoorsy stuff, and it's great. It's great. Our tour was so bad. Our tour
Yeah.
was so bad. We left midway, and I looked at her and I said, "Well, clearly you're not picking this school anymore."
Yeah.
I mean, it was just heartbreaking that one indicator destroyed that. And by the way, University of Washington, we got a terrible tour there. That you could tell they did not care if we came or we didn't.
Yeah.
But like Oregon, Virginia Tech, um, it's Penn. We had a lot of great tours. Temple,
Mhm.
great tour. And I just wonder why colleges aren't focusing more on that, like that first impression when they get to campus.
For some of them, I will say, I know that there's budgetary reasons, so they'll recruit students to do it. I don't know if your tour was student led. Those usually aren't great. You want a admissions person, you want an enrollment specialist, you want somebody who has answers to all the questions, a real salesperson doing all of this stuff.
Every
Uh,
single one of them was led by a student.
really.
Every single one. And I bet we did 12. I did 12 of them with her. My wife did a bunch of others. They were
Yeah.
all student led. Every one of them.
And it's cheap labor, and it's really depending on the that student's relationship with the school. They might not feel as attached to that school as some other students, so it's really the luck of the draw when it comes to students having leading tours like that. And I think it's good to have students involved because you want that perspective. They shouldn't be the ones doing the tour. They
It,
should.
it, I kind of disagree, kind of agree with you. I think that it was clear that some of them were highly motivated, some of them were highly trained. And the young lady that did Virginia Tech's tour, that's where my daughter picked Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
She's up there, Hokie. The tour was incredible.
Hmm.
I was like, oh my gosh. And maybe it was the luck of the draw. I mean, there
Yeah.
were 10 groups split up. There were 300 of us going that day or whatever it was. And she was just great and sweet
Yeah.
and knowledgeable. And some of the others were like that. But like the young lady at App State, she was super motivated about App State, but she didn't show us anything. Like she took us down the alleys and talked to us about her personal life. And she liked to sit
Yeah.
on, literally, she talked about sitting on this particular bench. And this is where she liked to have her coffee. I don't care. And
Right.
like, where's the gym? Where's the cafeteria? Where's the library? You know? And so I guess what I'm saying is like, so now let's kind of equate that the tours, because our shop does a lot of secret shopping, right? In the tours at public schools, K-12 schools,
Hmm.
also vary. But the ones that are led, not they have a student like ambassador, can be
Hmm.
very touching. So are you taking any of this knowledge of tours and are you baking any of that in Orange County right now? And if so, like, what does it look like?
I personally haven't done any of that work yet. We do each of the schools individually have their own people that do the tours. Often it's an assistant principal or a principal, people who know how to speak about the school and all of that. I don't believe and don't quote me on this, but I don't believe there's a countywide sort of program for how to do school tours and all of that.
So, yeah, and I think that that's what I'm seeing with districts across the nation. And so I
Yeah.
think that one of the pro tips that can kind of come out of this is like our first pro tip, right? For the school districts that are, the 100,000, there's only 14,000 districts. I like to exaggerate.
Mm-hmm.
The 10,000 districts going to watch this is the tours are very important and making sure that they're done properly.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones at college, it matters. It does kind of create that sense of community. So maybe having trained people or knowledgeable people is important, you think?
Yeah, I absolutely. I mean, especially with public schools now, with so many options out there with charter schools and private schools, we really have to sell. And, the more that I work in public education, the more that I want to sort of adopt that higher education model where we're always selling and we're showcasing differentiators and benefits and all of that kind of stuff, because it's getting that granular. Where if you have a charter school within a mile of a public school, and they're highlighting, they've got a list of bullet points as to why they're the best and all of that. And you've got your public school, which the train of thought doesn't seem to have been that way. There hasn't really been a need to showcase all of the great things so much because you just go to public school.
And I think that like that's kind of what I'm meaning, like this recruiting. It's like I kind of see the tour as maybe one of the last things an action item asked. But let's back up to your expertise, like this lead generation, this start of the thing. And you had mentioned the word big budgets and the higher ed. I mean, the amount of material we got from some universities. I mean, the goodie bags that were mailed to us week after week, month. I mean, not things as good as hats, but certainly squishy things and koozies and big, huge packets of information that just must cost gobs of money. What do you think the recruitment budget was at like the average college?
At the average college or recruitment, I can speak to my arm of it, which was the marketing budget. Marketing budget for, I won't name the school, but it's a top 10 school in the country. 300 million, something like that. Just for marketing.
What percentage of the budget? What do you think percentage of the budget that was?
For this particular college, it was, I would say, close to probably around 25% of what they actually spend to bring students in.
Okay. Now we're cooking with grease. Okay. So James, if I had you guess what the average, this is a little hard to find because you have enrollment budgets and marketing budgets and things like that. The average budget for marketing of a traditional charter school, what do you think the percentage of their overall budget goes towards marketing recruitment?
For marketing recruitment for a charter school, I would say, based on my limited knowledge, I would say probably about 35%. I would say somewhere around there.
It's certainly over 25, right? And it's astronomical. Now, what do you think the average is for a public traditional school is?
Based on my knowledge, not much.
Less than 5. Less than 5%.
These places, as far as I know, don't have marketing budgets. The marketing is generally done by the district, other than grassroots kind of stuff, community outreach and things like that.
And I think that's kind of one of my mantras. I'm stomping on the hill, and I was down there in Orlando with you a few weeks ago, and I gave you, if anybody, the book's over there. Jackson put it behind me because he wants to market it. I am my own sponsor on this podcast, everyone. So if you want the latest book, A Level Playing Field, it's on Amazon right now. Go buy lots of it. All right, there. That's my last plug, James. So, but when we get into this, the world's a changing with choice.
Yeah.
In order to compete, you got a baseline of what higher ed has to do. You have a baseline of what charter schools. What do you think public schools need to do to ensure that they're marketing themselves and reputation? What do you think some of the things that they need to start to incorporate that they're not doing are?
Well, it's they have all the stuff is the thing. They have great programs. They have the clubs. They have the organizations. They have all the activities. They have great arts programs. They've got STEM activities. They have esports. They have like exciting stuff that kids actually are interested in and want to do. It's usually it's on a website, or you learn about that when you come for a school tour or for parents' night or something like that. It's not being pushed out at all, and I think that is the thing, is just
It,
the the hard work is done because all of the stuff is right there. It's just it's not being communicated, so it has to be advertised, pushed out. Everyone has to know that, oh wow, this school has this, and it's right next door to me, and it's a public school, and there's busing back and forth to it, and all that. I think it's the awareness factor. I don't think that local families are aware of just the amount of stuff that is available to them.
you were absolutely spot on according to everything I've been doing for the last 10 years, right? And so I got kind of a story you can respond to it, right? Which is I'm up in New Jersey. We got a lot of clients in New Jersey, lots of competition, lots of choice. We've been up there for years helping them. And we recruit a lot of students back to these public schools from not just charter schools, not just private schools, but also kids not even going to school. And that's across
Mm-hmm.
the nation too. They think that as much as 6% of the student population, which is about 50 million in the United States, isn't going to school at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that. You go through a city, you see them, literally go through certain big cities in the South where I live, and you see kids 10, 12 selling like bottles of water, trying to make a little buck on the side of the streets during school days.
Mm-hmm.
And it breaks my heart. So the school district, we did a survey for them. And we said, what do parents want in this area? Like, what will attract them to you? Like, get some research done, right? We love research. And they said, look, they safe, sure, but it was a safe district. They wanted to be successful, sure. But their main driver was like extracurricular activities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were leaving for extracurricular activities. Now,
Yeah.
who was marketing the extracurricular activities? All the competition, right?
Yep.
Now, whose extracurricular activities were they? It was a public
Yeah.
school.
The
Yeah, so
public
the
schools.
public school had 186 extracurricular activities that no one knew about. They never said to anyone, but
Yeah.
all the competition, the home schools, the charter schools, they were all using their extracurricular activities. And they were saying, we have 186 extracurricular activities.
Yeah.
And they were all the public school's activities, but the public school wasn't telling anyone about these
Right.
activities. None.
I
I
think
think
it's something I've found at every school, and it doesn't matter if it's a college, public school, and all of that. There's a tendency when you work in a place and you work at a school and you love it so much, you think the whole world knows about it. And you think everyone feels about it the same way that you do about it and all of that. And they don't. Once you step foot off campus, no, the general public doesn't know anything about what is going on inside that place, whether it's,
it, it,
UF or ASU or, local school or something like that.
yeah. And it I get it. It's like teachers are hired and their jobs and their passion is to teach,
Mm-hmm.
not to market. And
Yeah.
we made some mistakes when we started recruiting students, which was we got some requests by some K-12 schools to like train our teachers to recruit, and we tried, and
Mm-hmm.
it didn't work. Like they have so much work to do as it is. They have so much responsibility it is, and to give them a stipend at night to go knock on doors and make phone calls. Now look, they are certainly the number one ambassador of the
Yeah.
schools. But when you talked about specialists and people that are trained to get out there, a salesperson knows how to sell. A surgeon knows how to do surgery. Lawyers
Right.
lawyer. CPAs do math. Teachers teach. But how do we get across to the K-12, the traditional public schools, that they really need to start to market and get the message out about how awesome they are?
That's what we're working on now. And since I've come on board, I'm trying to get the message across of whether it's social media posts or working with them to create marketing materials. We have to promote this stuff. We have to get the word out for this stuff. I mean, it's just market, market, market all the time. And that, you're an ambassador all the time. And it directly impacts you, even though it seems like an extra thing that you might have to do, it impacts your job. Could be because, I think with our county, I think 10 student enrollments equals one teacher's job. And so when enrollment numbers decline, it really does make a legitimate impact on the number of teachers that we can hire
Yeah.
and all of that.
Yeah, and
So
we got to get that message out. Like we got to
yeah,
let the teachers and staff know that like, and that's like them doing a good job and realizing they need to make the ask is all great. All those things need to occur. And that's not,
right,
but that's not like marketing. That's just them realizing that the student is how they earn a living. It is a customer,
right,
right? Right.
right.
So how big you started in September, you're there, they drug in some talent. Give me the stats on the district. How big is it? And how much resources or how big is your team?
My team, so I'm in the public relations department, and I think, if I'm correct, it's in the 30 to 40 person head count, something along those lines.
Mhm.
Um, so it's a smaller team, but I mean, it's as big as any college that I've worked for. The roughly the size of the marketing team. You know, we do have graphic designers and copywriters and all of that kind of stuff. What was the first part of
How big's the district? How big's the district?
district? I think we are the eighth biggest in the entire country. And so that's about 213 schools, if my count is right.
How many students?
Students. I don't have that information off the top of my head, unfortunately.
All right. I'm gonna pull that up while we're talking because I should know that off the top of my head, but I'm having a little bit of I've got too many numbers in my head right now.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure I get it right. Orlando, Florida school district. I think I know, but I want to make sure I get the right number. Student count. Look, computers are incredible, incredible. Um,
Hmm.
just over 200,000 sound about right to you?
That sounds right.
Yeah. So when somebody else hears this and they hear a team of 30 to 40, most school districts, by the way, don't have a team near that big.
Yeah.
Even districts that are or like 100,000 plus don't have teams that big. Right. And so I think Orange County, one of the reasons I want to talk to you is I think Orange County is doing a lot of things proactively.
Hmm.
Right. And it's so funny that you're coming from this higher ed space, which is you're used to big teams and big budgets because it's so critical to enroll. And now all that need is growing in K-12 space.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
and I really do think the same principles apply. You know, I think before too, like I've mentioned, school, K through 12 is something you have to do. But I think we need to take, from a messaging standpoint, I think we do need to take more of a aspirational approach to it. You know, we're make it something that kids want to do and that parents are engaged with. You know, learn how to turn your passion into a career, pursue your dreams. You know, achieve your goals, strive for greatness. That really aspirational kind of language
Mhm.
that works so well in higher ed. Work towards new opportunities. You know, set yourself on a path to a brighter tomorrow. That kind of stuff.
Do you think that, like you said, build a sense of community and
Hmm.
at least our college experience was really critical. Like, can you
Yes.
find friends? Can you find people to hang out with? Can you find people you want to, become your bridesmaids,
Hmm.
at your wedding one day? All these things. Can we do that in K-12? Can we build sense as a community?
Absolutely, and I think Orange County is set up for that perfectly because Orlando is kind of a funny town where every little section of it is its own world, kind of, and these schools are very much in community-based areas. They are their own bubbles. You know, you go a few streets over here, it's its own kind of vibe. You go a few streets over here, it's its own thing too. The culturally the differences are pretty broad across the spectrum, and that's a good thing. I think there is a opportunity to sort of embolden the community and get them on board. The people are proud of their parts of town. You know, when I talk to friends and all of that, they're like, "Nope, I love Audubon Park. I love
Mhm.
downtown. I love College Park. I love this area and
Yeah,
all of that."
I grew up in Central Florida, Lakeland, Florida, right down the
Mhm.
street from you. I'd never been to downtown Orlando. I mean, I've
Yeah,
been to Disney World 10,000 times, but I stayed in downtown Orlando last time. I stayed at my mother's house enough. I needed to split, right?
yeah.
Sorry, mom. And she'll lecture me about this. But we had an early morning meeting, right, James? Don't tell her it was at
Hmm.
1 o'clock. When we met, but downtown was really cool.
Yeah.
Downtown Orlando was really cool. It's nice. So so sense of community. So what are some of the other things that you're incorporating to help market and sell Orange County?
So what I'm been focused on is, again, sort of going back to that community aspect, treating each school individually, which is a
Hmm.
hard job with 213 schools, but that's really how you make an impact. The students and their families are different everywhere, and they want to be spoken to differently. And even though it's a big job, that is critical. So it's been a case of going from my job, going school to school to school, speaking with the principals, talking to students, doing focus groups, speaking with parents, speaking with PTSAs. And while there's some overlapping concerns at different school, safety, it always comes up, academic rigor, and all of that, there really are very specific differences in different parts of town. And so I think in doing the research that we've been doing, that is really helping drive the content that we make. So if, let's say, we're assembling a fact card or a mailer, we can target it to the specific issues that parents are concerned about and the certain things that they want to see. We have a part of town that they're big on baseball. For some reason, there's a part of Orange County that is crazy about baseball. So that school needs a lot of focus on their sports
Okay.
programs.
James, where are you from originally?
I was born in England, actually.
Okay. So do you not get the history of baseball in Central Florida?
I know a little bit about it for sure.
Okay. All the winter camps are in Florida. So
Yeah,
growing
yeah.
up, you could go see, like these pro level, the show teams doing
Hmm.
practice games. And we would go do that as kids.
Yeah,
And so you literally see the Atlanta Braves
yeah,
play a pickup game. I mean, it was just little stadium. It was crazy back when I was a kid. So that's why, like, it's just such a,
yeah,
all the pro teams are down there. So you can get
yeah,
to see every team nationally in Central Florida. So that's why I just felt my,
yeah.
you know,
And it's different. It's different everywhere though. But some the one school is heavily volleyball, and another school is heavily soccer. They don't care about the other sports so much, and the
yeah.
parents are interested in those things too. And there's cultural things behind that and all of that. But really,
So you're sorry, you're doing community,
yeah.
direct messaging on what they want to hear, what they want to talk about, what specialized. I get that. Like that's
Mhm.
so cool. And I think that's a great like pro second tip is people pick schools, not school districts.
Correct.
Is probably another way to say it, right? Okay.
Yes.
And so now what are you doing? Like let's go all the way back down to the beginning of your pipeline, your lead generation.
Okay.
Like what are you doing to find leads and generate leads so that you can send those mail pieces out and everything?
It's for mailers, it's finding out where people live, obviously, but it's also the apartment complex, neighborhoods, all that stuff. It's getting to a grassroots level in terms of figuring out what churches they go to, what's their favorite pizza place, all of that kind of stuff. So that's where the outreach and all of that stuff we're building there. Um, and sorry, if can you repeat the question one more time?
Well, I'm trying to figure out like, so a lot of people will say, well, how do we start to generate leads to begin that
Yeah,
marketing push in those like communities, right? And I know that like certainly we buy a lot of lists, we acquire a lot of
yeah.
lists, we try to fence those off geographically. So
Mhm.
geofence, digital ads, geofence, mailing pieces and stuff. I didn't know if you had any pro tips about what the way that you're kind of generating your initial cold leads, let's say.
Our biggest lead bank is our elementary school kids. So it is about retention more than anything else. It is about
Oh yeah.
retaining
Yeah.
those elementary school kids and bringing them over to the middle school experience. I think, from what I understand, there is a loss between elementary school and middle school. That is a huge gap because parents are afraid of middle school and kids are too. There's a lot
Mhm.
of developmental changes. The difference between a sixth grader and an eighth grader emotionally is a big gap. And the thought of having all those kids mixed together is kind of a scary thought. So we're thinking about, uh, starting that enrollment process and the retention process as early as possible. Kindergarten, third grade at the latest, I think, in order to keep them on board. for middle school and then eventually high school. And one thing too that has working well for us is our K-8 schools perform very well. Those retention rates are in the 90%, things
Nice.
like that. And so they're, again, going back to the sense of community, having their kids in one place that they know and understand and is in their neighborhood with the same kind of crop of teachers and the people they know is critically important on our end. That has worked really well.
It's great. I so get it, right? Because the way we think about increasing and sustaining enrollment, that sustaining enrollment is super critical because the competition, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
Coke versus Pepsi, not mad at the competitors. It's America, America. We did competition. English, they like competition too. Like we're all in the same competitive boat. We love it.
Mm-hmm.
Is is we say you got to retain those students, and
Yeah.
that's a different model because hey, we love you, we want you to come back, and yeah, the decision points are now, pre-K to kindergarten, and then
Mm-hmm.
initially before pre-K, you got two decision points there. Then when you're transitioning between elementary, middle, and the middle and high, those are always
Mm-hmm.
the biggest decision points.
Right.
And where you're susceptible to leave people, and then so you guys are really focused right now on sustaining the current enrollment, and you got as much as K-12, like 90%, which is really, really good comparing
Yeah.
to national averages. So nice work, right?
Yeah. Those
Any
schools are great. Yeah.
Yeah. So any tips? So you get in the marketing pieces. Are you still doing any old school stuff like school fairs and I don't know. Are there any other little nuanced things that you guys are you thinking about experimenting with or that you're already doing?
It's interesting. My job right now, I'm primarily focused on our social media efforts, but it is also all of this kind of legwork I'm doing in terms of trying to get to understand every school and what makes it special, so I can help market and differentiate them from all the other things in their area. Because the charter schools are smart and the private schools are smart. They know how to target the same places, apartment complexes, things like that. There's one school where a private school that sets up a tent at a gas station on the corner down the street from one of our public schools and will enroll kids in the parking lot over the summer for their private school. Like it's that the competition is that fierce and that kind of, I don't know, blatant isn't the word, but I mean that's a pretty bold thing to do, to be recruiting kids down the street from for a private school right next to a public school.
Well, when you treat it like a business,
Yeah,
you're going to go out and try to get those new clients. And we've
yeah,
we've seen competitors start as early as the maternity wards. We didn't
wow,
used to see that 5 years ago, where they're like, "Hey, they come by with a little basket. Can't wait for you to like consider us in your pre-K programs and early childhood development programs." Right?
yeah,
I mean, it's aggressive because it's basically, and this is why I wanted to have you on, is it's going to be more similar to the way colleges have to compete.
absolutely, yeah,
And so, we have this drive to make competition, better, especially in states where vouchers and charter schools like in Florida are huge. And that's going to come to almost there was 19 states that didn't have like voucher programs and really like aggressive school choice. And
right,
that's getting ready to start to lower even more,
yeah,
right? This coming to every state. So everybody get ready. Like get ready to
right,
compete. And I think the one thing that I'll say kind of here as a wrap up is I like to get your take on this, is I think that public schools have so much to offer. And I
yes,
love that you're finding out what makes them special, each individual school, and getting the word out. And I just want to encourage people in public schools it's okay to put a light on it. Like let somebody talk about how awesome you are, right? Like what you're doing.
mhm. Absolutely agree. Yeah, and I think I think the trick now is, which was the trick in higher ed, is people want to know why a certain school is the absolute best place for their kid to learn. And we have to make that sales pitch. We have to, and in every single way possible, use everything within our arsenal, whether it's the academics, the sports, the extracurriculars, the faculty, highlighting faculty achievements. We have incredible faculty that are doing research projects. They are members of different organizations, and that's all great stuff. And that's things that people respond to. They want to see rankings, they want to see accolades, and all of that kind of stuff. And so I think it's about, again, there's a great base there. We just have to advertise this, all of this stuff in a way that hasn't been done before. Really push all of these things out as highlights because the differentiators are there. It's making people aware of them.